One match, one memory, and one dangerous opponent standing between Alexandra Eala and another breakthrough moment. Because the last time Alexandra Eala faced Dayana Yastremska, it wasn't even close. But tennis has a funny way of rewriting history. That Indian Wells, the so-called 5th Grand Slam, Eala's tournament is finally about to begin after receiving a first-round bye. And when fans looked at the draw, many assumed the Filipina star would ease into the event. Then the first-round result came in. Dayana Yastremska had just defeated Shuai Zhang in straight sets. 6-3, 6-2. Suddenly, the second round became something much more interesting. Because this isn't just another match. It's a clash between two players who represent something bigger than rankings. Two players who thrive in chaos. And two players who know exactly how dangerous the other can be. But here's the twist that makes this matchup so fascinating. The last time they played, Alexandra Eala completely dominated. And that's exactly why this rematch could get explosive. Before we break down why this match could define the week for both players, let's rewind to the moment that quietly changed Alexandra Eala's career trajectory. The 2025 season. For years, Alexandra Eala was known as one of the most promising young players coming out of Asia, a Grand Slam junior champion, a fighter, and a player with the kind of composure that coaches love to see in someone so young. But potential in tennis can be cruel. Until you prove it on the biggest stages, people always wonder if you'll actually get there. Then came Miami, and everything changed at the 2025 Miami Open. Alexandra Eala delivered the kind of run that forces the entire tennis world to start paying attention. Match after match, she showed a mix of tactical intelligence and emotional toughness that made commentators stop mid-sentence. By the time she reached the semifinals, the conversation had shifted. This wasn't about a promising prospect anymore. This was about a legitimate WTA threat. But the most interesting part about Eala's rise isn't just the results. It's how she wins. She doesn't overpower opponents the way some players do. She doesn't rely on one massive weapon. Instead, she breaks opponents down. Angles, court positioning, consistency, timing. Eala turns tennis matches into puzzles, and most players don't realize they're losing until it's too late. That style worked beautifully during the grass court season as well. Just 3 months after Miami, Alexandra Eala arrived at the Eastbourne Open with momentum and confidence. Seeded 8th at the tournament, she was no longer flying under the radar, but the draw wasn't exactly friendly. Her path included big hitters and dangerous players who could easily disrupt her rhythm. First came Hailey Baptiste, the tournament's top seed, then Lucia Bronzetti, then Jelena Ostapenko, and if you follow women's tennis, you know exactly how dangerous Ostapenko can be. A former Grand Slam champion with explosive power capable of ending rallies in seconds. Yet somehow, Alexandra Eala navigated all of it. Calmly, intelligently, relentlessly. And that's how she found herself standing in the quarterfinals across the net from Dayana Yastremska. Now, if you know anything about Yastremska, you know she is the definition of unpredictable. On her best days, she looks unstoppable. Her forehand explodes off the racket. Her intensity electrifies the court, and when she gets momentum, matches can spiral out of control very quickly. Just ask Coco Gauff. Because in one of the most shocking moments of last year's Wimbledon, Dayana Yastremska knocked Gauff out in the very first round. That result stunned fans around the world. Gauff had entered the tournament as one of the favorites, but Yastremska came out swinging from the very first game. Aggressive returns, fearless shot-making, zero hesitation. And before anyone could process what was happening, one of the tournament's biggest stars was gone. That's the kind of chaos Dayana Yastremska can bring to a match. Which is exactly why the Eastbourne quarterfinal between her and Alexandra Eala felt like a dangerous test for the young Filipina. On paper, it looked like a clash of styles. Eala, the strategist. Yastremska, the aggressor. But what happened next surprised almost everyone watching, because Alexandra Eala didn't just win, she dismantled her. 6-1, 6-2. From the first rally, Eala looked completely in control. She absorbed Yastremska's power, redirected the ball into uncomfortable spaces, and forced the Ukrainian into mistake after mistake. The numbers tell the story. Yastremska managed to win only 25% of her second serve points. For a player who relies on rhythm and momentum, that statistic is brutal. Even more shocking, she won just 34% of her first serve points despite landing nearly 73% of those serves. That means Eala was consistently neutralizing one of the most important weapons in Yastremska's game. Meanwhile, Alexandra Eala played one of the most efficient matches of her career. She landed 74% of her first serves. She won more than half of those points, and when it mattered most, she converted 7 of her 12 breakpoint opportunities. That kind of clinical performance doesn't just happen by accident. One player understood the matchup perfectly. That player was Alexandra Eala. The victory sent her into the semifinals, where she defeated Varvara Gracheva to reach the first WTA final of her career. For Filipino tennis fans, it was a historic moment. The country had produced talented athletes before, but this felt different. This felt like a breakthrough. But the final didn't go the way Eala had dreamed. Standing across the net was Maya Joint, another rising star who refused to back down. The match became a roller coaster. Momentum swings, long rallies, heart-pounding tension. Eala even had championship points. 4 of them. 4 chances to close the match and capture her first WTA title. But tennis can be brutally unforgiving. Joint saved every single one, and eventually, after nearly 3 hours of battle, she completed a stunning comeback. 4-61. 7-6. Just like that, the title was gone. When the final point ended, Alexandra Eala couldn't hold back the emotions. She stood there in tears. Not because she had failed, but because the moment meant so much. After the match, she addressed the crowd with honesty that resonated across the tennis world. She congratulated Maya Joint for an incredible performance and said that if she had to lose to anyone that week, she was glad it was her. Then she said something that perfectly captured the weight of the moment. This was her first WTA final, and it wasn't just big for her, it was historic for her country. That's why the emotions came pouring out. Moments like that remind us that tennis isn't just about trophies, it's about journeys. And Alexandra Eala's journey is still just beginning. Now we fast forward to Indian Wells, one of the most prestigious tournaments outside the Grand Slams. The desert atmosphere, the massive stadium, the feeling that every match can turn into something memorable. Eala received a first-round bye, giving her time to prepare. But when the draw revealed her potential second-round opponent, some fans immediately remembered that Eastbourne match. Dayana Yastremska. A familiar face, a dangerous one. Because here's the thing about rematches in tennis. They rarely play out the same way twice. Yastremska knows exactly what happened in their last meeting, and players like her don't forget losses like that. Aggressive competitors tend to respond one of 2 ways after a defeat. Either they collapse mentally, or they come back twice as dangerous. Which version will show up at Indian Wells? That's the question everyone is asking. Because Dayana Yastremska has already proven she can shock the world. Beating Coco Gauff at Wimbledon wasn't luck. It was fearless tennis. And if she brings that same fearless mentality into this match, Alexandra Eala could face a completely different challenge than the one she solved in Eastbourne. But there's another side to this story. Confidence. And Alexandra Eala has plenty of it when facing Yastremska. When you beat someone 6-1, 6-2 at the professional level, you walk into the rematch knowing you've already cracked the code. You know the patterns, you know the pressure points, you know exactly where your opponent struggles. That psychological edge can be massive. Still, Indian Wells is not Eastbourne. Different surface, different conditions, different pressure. Hard courts reward power and aggressive baseline play, which happens to be one of Yastremska's biggest strengths. If she starts hitting freely, rallies could become much shorter, and shorter rallies usually favor the bigger hitter. That's why this match might come down to one critical factor: control. If Alexandra Eala can slow the pace, extend rallies, and move Yastremska around the court, she'll likely recreate the formula that worked so well before. But if Yastremska finds her rhythm early, we might be watching an entirely different battle. And that's exactly why this matchup is quietly becoming one of the most intriguing early rounds at Indian Wells, because both players have something to prove. For Eala, it's about continuing the momentum of her breakthrough season and showing that her rise is no fluke. For Yastremska, it's about redemption, about proving that the Eastbourne loss was just a bad day, not a sign that Eala has her number. There's also the bigger narrative surrounding Alexandra Eala. Every time she steps onto the court now, she carries the expectations of an entire nation. Filipino fans have rallied behind her in a way that's truly remarkable. Matches trend online. Highlights go viral. Young players across the Philippines suddenly believe that reaching the WTA Tour is possible. That kind of support can be powerful, but it also brings pressure, because when you represent something bigger than yourself, every win feels historic, and every loss feels heavier. That's part of what made the Eastbourne final so emotional. Eala wasn't just playing for a trophy. She was playing for a dream shared by millions. Now imagine what a deep run at Indian Wells would mean. The stage is massive, the audience is global, and the opportunity to prove herself against elite competition is right there. But first she has to get past Dayana Yastremska. And if tennis history has taught us anything, it's this. Players who specialize in upsets are always dangerous. Yastremska thrives in chaos. She feeds off big stages and big opponents. Sometimes, those are exactly the players who produce the most unpredictable matches. So when they step onto the court this Friday, expect intensity from the first point. Expect aggressive returns. Expect long rallies mixed with explosive winners. And expect momentum swings. Because matches like this rarely follow a simple script. One moment, Eala could be calmly controlling the baseline. The next, Yastremska could be blasting forehands past her like lightning. That tension is what makes tennis so addictive to watch. But here's my personal prediction. If Alexandra Eala stays patient and sticks to the tactical discipline that carried her through Miami and Eastbourne, she has the tools to win this matchup again. Her court awareness is exceptional. Her ability to absorb power is underrated, and mentally, she has shown the maturity of a player far beyond her age. However, if Yastremska starts landing those first serves and playing with the same fearless energy that shocked Coco Gauff at Wimbledon, the match could turn into a 3-set war. And honestly, that might be the scenario fans secretly want. Because tennis is always more exciting when two players refuse to back down. So, now I want to hear from you. Doc D. You think Alexandra Eala will dominate the rematch the same way she did in Eastbourne, or will Dayana Yastremska pull off another upset and flip the storyline completely? Let me know your prediction in the comments, because this match could end up being one of the most talked about early battles at Indian Wells, and if you love deep tennis stories like this, keep following RedDust Report, because the biggest moments in tennis aren't just about what happens on the scoreboard. They're about the rivalries, the emotions, and the journeys that unfold match by match. And something tells me Alexandra Eala's journey is only getting started.